Hello, hello. Welcome. I'm super glad that you're here. Perhaps you have been following along the entire mini-series, and if you have, welcome back. I'm welcoming you with an open virtual hug from my soul to your soul, heart to heart. Think of this podcast as a cozy little couch chat, a pep talk for the soul where we can talk a little bit more about this final season we'll be covering, which is fall. 3 episodes back, we started with winter. We then moved to spring and then summer in the last episode. And now we're going to close out with fall. And I got to tell you, this mini series has been very fun. Not only do I love podcasting, and I didn't realize how much I missed it, but it's been fun because it's allowed me to look back at some of the seasons that I've gone through and the events that filled those seasons and reflect a little bit more. Even though I've thought about them and have journaled on them, kind of opening back up the archives and being able to look back at it, there's always something new to learn, something new to discover. And living, today in this body, in this brain, in this, in this mindset that I'm currently at, looking back 7 years allowed me to see things a little bit differently as well, because we are going to have changing of perspectives. We're going to learn more about ourselves, about our world, as we go. And so I'm always a big proponent on looking back and reflecting. And so this has been fun. There's always more to uncover, which is makes life very exciting. So we are continuing with fall today. And I want to talk a little bit about what fall represents. So, think about fall in terms of the season of transformation. And I'm sure even when you bring to mind fall, what you picture is probably, leaves on the tree that are changing, colors in the environment changing from maybe green to maybe more of an earthy brown or golden. It can be a time of reflection and really comfort, right? The weather, it typically gets cooler out. You bring back some of the, soup season, if you will. I love soup so much. It can be a cycle of shedding and growth. So, with the trees falling, maybe there's elements of our life that fall away naturally, or perhaps not so naturally, right? It comes in both, both packages there. But fall can really encourage us to trust life's cycles and trust that what's falling away isn't to, how do I say it? It doesn't always have to be a bad thing. It can be embracing the falling away and allowing new, right? Making new space for something different, something more valuable, more meaningful in our life to come in. Perhaps that's a person, a place, or a thing, or an activity, or a behavior, or a habit. It could be anything, right? Space can be filled with whatever we want to fill it with. And so we got to sometimes let things go and allow things to fall away so that they can come in. And so I just picture kind of a cascading of leaves falling gracefully from a tree, and just how effortlessly they allow, the tree allows those to go, right? The tree's not calling out, oh, I need that leaf, right? It just happens. And so again, we can kind of look to the seasons, look to nature as an example of how that might look, and take on some of that energy, if you will. It also can be a time for rest. And me and sleep we go way back. Haven't always had the best relationship with sleep or approach to sleep, but last night I had a really good sleep, and it just reminded me just how better I feel and how how more patient I am, and how necessary rest is for growth. Because today I have just felt so calm and so open, and just, I don't know what it is. I haven't felt like this in the last couple weeks. So it's a reminder, a visceral reminder that rest is necessary, and fall can remind us of that. It's a time to pull inward and perhaps get reflective on what's been going on, all of the newness or fun or adventure or exploration that summer brought, that spring bloomed into. It can be a time to think about the comforts of what remains constant, even when things are going away or shifting. What are those constants in your life? And it kind of relates to something I've been thinking a lot about in terms of the mundane. And the mundane meaning kind of the tasks in life that we do day to day. Think showering, think picking up the dog crap in the backyard, or making a cup of tea, or using the restroom, or, just the day to day mundane. And I've been thinking a lot about how there can be such magic in the mundane if we let it, if we allow that to be. And gosh, this perhaps could be a whole other episode later, because there's a whole rabbit hole waiting for us to travel down with that one. But it's something that I'm focused on for the rest of this month, in terms of there is just holding that belief, because I have experienced it in that the mundane, the tasks that we do, the very humanizing tasks that are always there for us, there can be magic in it. And so I'm opening up possibility to experience that magic. And I just posted today on my personal Instagram some of I'm calling it the Feb refocus, and what goes into that. And the mundane is magic, and there's magic in the mundane is part of that. So if you want to check it out, find me over there. But let's talk a little bit too about how I think fall is about cultivating all of the wisdom, all of the joy, all of the energy that we exerted, or perhaps given away, or just naturally used up in summer. And we can use the transitioning into fall as a way to call that back in. And it reminds me of Tai Chi a little bit. There's this move where you circle your arms up overhead, palms facing each other, and then with the palms facing down, you slowly bring your hands down in front of you, going in front of your face, past your throat, your heart chakra, and down, down, down. And you're breathing out. It's so calming. Even me just doing that, and explaining it, I felt my whole nervous system just kind of take a beat, downshift, and just kind of relax into it. It gives a very calming, turning down the volume kind of feeling to every cell in your body. So perhaps you try it now if you're in a place to do so. So take a deep breath in. Allow your arms just to rise overhead, without rushing. Maybe even when you get to the top, and allow the palms to face each other, give yourself a little stretch. Allow your torso to reach up to the sky, hands, crown of the head, reach up to the sky, and then move your palms to face down, and just allow them to float down slowly as you breathe out. Just imagine your hands are on two little clouds, assisting them to slowly glide down the front of your body, passing all of your upper body until you have your hands resting on either side. Ah, my gosh, it makes me feel like I need a nap. So relaxing. So fall can be like that. Fall can have that sense of turning down the volume. And I actually have a story in Thank You for Dumping Me, my book, about a class I took with the Tai Chi guy. I went to this wellness center in the Santa Cruz Mountains when I was deep in my healing journey, right after the breakup. It's a pretty funny story because even when we're in the midst of healing, we're going to have times where we circle back to old ways of thinking and thought patterns. And at this particular time for me at this wellness center, I took this class and I was all of a sudden just completely obsessed, 0 to 100, about obsessing over and over engineering in my mind about how, oh my gosh, this whole breakup happened. And here I am at this wellness center because I am meant to marry this man, my Tai Chi teacher. I know it sounds so funny, but it was important for me to add that story into the book because my intention for the book is not for it to be start here, end here, and you'll be healed. Ding! That's just not what life is. Life is a spiral of healing. And often while we're on the path of healing, we are introduced or reintroduced to old ways of coping, old ways of thinking. Why? Because it worked for us at one time. And so it's not to take us out. It's for us to engage with it in a different way. And with all of the tools and lessons and knowingness that we have in the moment and maybe approach it differently. Sometimes not. Sometimes we go into the old coping pattern or we let that old thought process eat us to bits and ride out our day with it, but not always, right? So it was funny because I was just completely like stalking him online and trying to find out, his sun, moon, rising, and just going down that path of like overly trying to think, oh, this is the solution. This is the solution. Because I think that's natural. Our brain wants to make sense of things. And at the time I was still in a state of, not fully allowing and embracing the unknown. And so, hey, it's just proof, right? That our personal seasons can be full of difference and contradicting things, right? Welcome to humanhood. So that's a little bit of kind of the essence of fall and how we can kind of look to it for little glimmers of wisdom and clues. And it also makes me think of something I think that's big medicine for me right now in learning, in that transformation and change often happens beneath the surface. It happens quietly. It happens when people aren't looking. It happens when we commit to something and even when we have nothing to show for it, because we won't always have something to show for it or prove or report out on, right? But just because people can't see anything doesn't mean that nothing is happening, right? And it's kind of this full circle back to trust that we talked about in the winter episode. And so, as I was preparing this episode, I don't have much to share from my personal world on fall, because when I feel into it, I think beginning this February 2025 for me, the door has opened to this season for me and I'm being invited in. I'm transitioning out of summer where, in the last season I talked about publishing the book, marketing the book, going to all of those weddings, getting engaged, there being a lot of outward focus. And now I'm feeling called to focus on discernment, aka discerning what and where and who I spend my time and how I'm spending it. There's still, however, an outward focus on marketing my book, because I believe that's part of the soul contract I have with Thank You for Dumping Me, this creative being. I wrote her, I let her simmer, we introduced her to the world, and now I stay with her and make sure that she's supported in making her rounds, finding readers and connecting her to opportunities to be seen. That will continue to be a focus for me for the next few years. And I do mean few years, because self-publishing, it's grassroots, baby. So it takes time for a book to come into its own. And I know that because your 20s took years, took about 5 years to really get on the map and get circulated. And now it's got a soul of its own, and I usher it when it needs ushering. But the focus now is to help this second book, get out and support it. So this is an example of the parallels we have in one season. Yin and yang, no? Yin and yang, the two operate together and separately, simultaneously. And opposites being held in the same space and energy and learning to hold them both while staying centered is the medicine of my 30s that has felt so juicy. It's almost like holding oppositions in either hand and allowing both to exist, but also together, and knowing that not one is taking away from the other, but yet allowing them to exist together in the same room. And with that allowance, perhaps there's going to be things that each opposite can learn from each other and support each other. And so, yes, I am here for all of that. I wanted to share an activity from Thank You for Dumping Me. And this is on page 144 if you have it. And this is one that I picked because we talked a little bit throughout this mini series about free will. And this relates to that a little bit. This is almost like a little bit over halfway through the book. So I'm still in that healing season in, post breakup. So I want to read this, and then I want to share with you a closing thought for fall. And then I've got a few closing thoughts for this whole mini series. So let me read this quickly, and then we can get to the juicy closing bits. All right. Fate and Free Will Fiesta, aka what to do when you're ready to mix, mingle, and make mistakes. Oh God, if you can't make yourself laugh, who can you make, right? All right, fate and free will are two friends in a continuous dance together. We have the power to make choices and take actions that align with our goals and values, exercising our free will. At the same time, there are external factors and forces at play, fate, that shape our experiences and guide us along the way. You can think of it like a sailing boat. We have control over the direction we steer and the sails we set, free will, but we must also navigate the wind and currents, which may present challenges and push us in unexpected directions along the way, fate. When I do my part, the universe does its part too. I love that. I should. I mean, it made the cut, right? Can you think of a time when you took action or made an effort towards a goal, situation, or idea and noticed the universe responding in some way? So here are 4 questions or things to take yourself through. So think of a time you took action or made effort towards a goal, situation, or idea, and then take yourself through this reflection. First, reflect on the experience. Think about a past painful experience and write down what happened and how you felt. 2, explore your why. Consider why you think the experience happened and what you hoped to learn from it. 3, reframe your perspective. Reflect on how your understanding of the experience has changed over time. Have you learned anything new that helps you make sense of it? And then 4, recognize co-creation. Reflect on the idea that when you do your part, the universe often responds in kind, guiding you along your path. Write down all of the forces that were at play in your situation, your actions, others' actions, invisible actions, and actors. Explore how these interconnected forces shaped your journey in ways that you may not have realized initially. So this reflection activity is allowing you to play with and see how fate and free will are interacting, and by playing with and looking back at a previous goal, situation, or idea, or past painful experience, as I offered up, you can kind of see, okay, what were all the things at play in this situation? What did I do? What did I think? How did I approach it? Who was involved? And then noticing, how did the universe show up? Maybe there was something out of the blue that came and reminded you of something. Maybe there was a big helping hand from somebody that you were able to cultivate. So it helps us to see how that dance between the two shows up in our own life. And it's pretty cool once we realize that, we're not going at it alone, right? There's visible and invisible help along the way. So here's the closing thought for fall. Fall is a whispered invitation. It's a season of golden light and quiet transformation. It's soft yet powerful, and it helps teach us to honor change, find beauty in release, and trust that the rhythm of our life as it slows, and prepare for something new. All right. Closing thoughts for this mini series. So, embracing the seasons. Trust is going to be a key ingredient. And we can either choose to make it harder on ourselves by getting in the way and wanting to make sense of everything and wanting to, if you're grappling with something big, unknown right now, perhaps it's a breakup or a job change or a move, or even just what you're going to have for dinner tonight, right? It's big and small. Think about how if you're not sure what will happen next or how things will play out, that's okay. Knowing and making sense of something is not a prereq for aligning and empowering healing or transformation. We don't need to know anything when we're in the confronted with the unknown. We don't have to know anything for it to work out, for us to heal and move through and transform through it. And I think for me, that really helps when I'm dealing with more of the kind of the negative parts of, the unknown. It's more fun when it's like, you're planning a wedding, for instance, and you don't know how the wedding's going to go, but it's a positive overall experience. I think remembering that we don't need to know or make sense of it in the midst of negative or scary kind of unknowns is really where this can help, because we can trust, we can lean in to that trust, knowing that we're going to get to the other side. It's going to make sense one day. My part here is to trust and do everything I can to support myself in staying with that thought process. Because if you take away anything from this mini series, it's, our life is seasonal, just like nature. And we need to allow the seasons to come and go. And we know they won't last forever. And we know that each season serves a purpose. So trusting the unfolding of our lives and always keeping in the back pocket the unknown can be so beautiful. So with that, I want you to take good care. I would love to hear what resonates with you and what is perhaps not resonating with you, or how the seasons show up for you in your own unique life experience. You can find me on Instagram. You can send me a message on my website or an email. And my books can be found on Amazon and anywhere you can find a book. Even you can request it even at a library or on books.org, but it's available in print, on Kindle, and in audio and Audible. You can also, if you want to really, really go above and beyond, you can also order a signed copy. And that's really great because Amazon doesn't take a cut. That's me just saying it like it is. I do offer wholesale discounts for retailers and bulk orders, like for book clubs and things. But this has been super fun. I hope this has been valuable for you. And I hope this is, not goodbye, but see you later. I would love to do more of this. So take good care. I wish you well and enjoy the flowing with the seasons. Okay, until next time.